Welcome to the Aging Gracefully podcast, virtual edition, your source for cutting-edge information on healthy aging, anti-aging, and innovative treatment options. I'm your host, Brandee Nielsen, and I'm honored to explore the evolution of anti-aging and longevity medicine through actual patient and expert provider experiences that can help redefine how aging looks and feels in our personal lives and beyond. Today, we welcome the founder of Science of Human Optimization, Alex Lubarsky. Alex is an author and passionate promoter of youthful longevity, Ageless Beauty, peak performance function, and expanding human lifespan. Thanks for joining us, Alex.
Nice to be here.
And also, we have a special co-host today, my husband, Ralph Smith. Hi, Ralph.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be here.
And before we dive into how we expand human lifespan, tell us about you, Alex, and your journey to becoming the founder of Science of Human Optimization. I love that title, by the way. It's so intriguing.
Well, I appreciate it. I don't think anyone finds their way into this particular arena by accident. I certainly have been on a long journey exploring this whole concept. It started for me when I got involved in healthcare about 25 years ago. And I had a regular company that we marketed doctors into medical centers, and it was all insurance-based. And I quickly realized that healthcare is not as clean and spotless and pure as I imagined it would be before I got involved. There's a lot of bureaucracy. There's a lot of undercurrent that we'll never understand. You know, to me, I was born in Soviet Russia, so the whole system reminded me a little bit of where I came from, because it was third-party controlled. There was a lot of government intervention. There was a lot of regulation. And so the focus also was not so much on health, wellness, and prevention. It was more on, let's wait until we develop a chronic illness and then manage it indefinitely with medication, surgery, and hospitalization. So I was curious about the whole idea, but I didn't have the passion until or the depth of understanding until I was diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis in my mid-30s. And so I went to all the allopathic doctors with my insurance card, and they pretty much all had the same answer to my issue. There is no solution. Here's a medication. Here's a steroid cream, pain pills, and good luck to you, my friend. So, but you know, you go to the doctors, it's the same philosophy, the same mindset, the same education, the same business model. So whether you go to 10 or 20 or 50, you went to the same doctor 50 times. And so that began to irk me a little bit. But so I started organizing conferences, because along the way I met some really amazing physicians who I thought, you know, they had this unique perspective of the power that made the body, heals the body. Health comes from the inside out, not outside in, you know, stuff like that. So I found it very interesting. So I started a radio program where I was interviewing, you know, hundreds of best-selling authors: Jekyll Lane, Suzanne Summers, Carol Alt, Mark Hyman, all the top leaders in this concept of cause-focused care. And so I started organizing conferences, and the conferences grew, and we had, 80 practitioners from around the country would fly in. We'd have thousands of people that attended, 100, 150 exhibiting companies. And so I was very passionate about bringing this information to the public, but then I quickly realized, well, not quickly, it took 15 years and COVID, but eventually I did realize that my business model had a major flaw, in that doctors are trained to be scientists and not business people. And so no matter how many people I would put in front of them, they could never convert them into enough business, sell them on the packages, long-term packages of what I now call human optimization, that would merit that this kind of care be made available to as many people as possible. So it was an exercise in frustration and expensive programs, but you know, it brought me here to the Science of Human Optimization, circling back, that we created a system where we assign a nurse practitioner to the individual person, Their job is to become the world expert in this person, their genetics, their blood, their digestion, their toxicity levels, their lifestyle choices, their nutrition, and then optimize all of that. Because what I learned is that when the body has everything it needs, and then you remove what it doesn't need and interferes with optimal function, then you can get the body to really behave itself. And so these nurse practitioners work under the direction and training of world experts in longevity prevention, human optimization, scientists, thought leaders, top physicians, doctors that cater to presidents and kings and queens and like that. So all that information gets trickled down. So my nurse practitioners become a conduit between all this world of information of longevity and human optimization and their individual client. And so that's the model I designed. And I feel like if I'm involved in actually designing the model, establishing that relationship between the physician and her client, then ultimately we can start shifting how healthcare is done for the population of people that value their life. They value their opportunity to make a contribution. They want to put more value, living, experience into that crowning decade, that final decade that we get to be on this planet, whatever that is, between 80 and 90, 90 and 100, 110, 100, whatever it is. But like we live fully until it just stops and we'll move on to the next program, which is hopefully better than this one.
Thank you for sharing all of that. You're right. We're looking to have the best life we possibly can in our later years, but even in our middle years, right? And even in our younger years, we ought to learn about this and what we need to do and start then so that you have a better chance of living better toward those later years. And thank you for doing what you're doing. I think that's amazing. I love your story and your journey. Share a little bit more about the nurse practitioner side. We find, or we hear often, that if it's not a medical doctor, if it's not an MD, I don't want to talk to the person. Why should someone not worry if they're talking to someone who's a nurse practitioner or seeing them for this type of treatment?
Well, let's take a little bit of a step back. Medical doctors, for the most part, spend their entire education and career identifying well-established disease states and then managing them. They're trained in medical schools, which for the most part are controlled and financed by the pharmaceutical industry. So a great medical doctor can diagnose your symptom and then quickly figure out which medication to assign to it. So you have a fire in your belly and they're swatting at the smoke. So these people are overtrained. I have one physician who is she's an iconoclast, a rebel, Dr. Erica Schwartz. She's an author of many books, a medical doctor, and she has a very successful center, caters to some of the wealthiest people in the world, and she calls it the medical cult. I'm not in the medicine, so I can't call it a medical cult because that would be rude, but that's what she calls it. And so, when you go to a medical doctor and you expect them to provide prevention or human optimization or identify deficiencies and toxicities and then resolve them for you, you're really barking up the wrong tree. You're in the wrong neighborhood looking for the wrong storefront. So medical doctors that I know that actually were of this mindset, like this doctor that I first started working with, Dr. Richard Lynch. He was a medical doctor, board certified in psychiatry, neurology, pain management, and then eventually anti-aging medicine. He was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer in his early 50s, and they gave him 2 to 5 years to live. So he dropped everything, he quit, he left his practice, and he started searching the world for anything to help him ameliorate the terminal diagnosis that he received. So he, on his journey over the next years, really figured out how to actually get to the root cause of chronic illness. And he started working with a lot of people who he actually helped recover personally at the very root of the issue. I was one of those people. And so a lot of the doctors who got involved in functional medicine back in the day usually had to develop some kind of a chronic illness. And that was the only thing, that was the only crowbar or baseball bat that was able to awaken them from this stupor that they've been put through over the last decade. And they invested $500,000. So there was no way they could see things from a different perspective until they themselves develop a chronic illness, or in some cases, somebody that they love, their wife, their daughter, their family member, somebody. And that opened their eyes a little bit. But for the most part, medical doctors treat well-established disease states, specifically the symptoms, and not doing anything to address the underlying cause. To answer your question about nurse practitioners, what I love about this group of people, and specifically the ones I have, they also saw the trauma and damage caused by chronic disease. But instead of being pushed into this direction of disease management, or going to the other side where, they're trying to heal people with honey and peppermint, they're kind of in the middle where, they know the science, they know the biology, they know how the body works, they understand how all the systems function, and now they have access from all this top physicians and scientists and experts on what you need to do to optimize your individual body from genetics out. And it doesn't take a lot. It really doesn't take a lot. Get your vitamin D up. Remove the mercury before it starts causing neurological damage. Once the neurological damage begins, it's very difficult to fix it with medication or anything else. Optimize the digestion. If you have chronic bloating, if you have any issues with your digestion, that's a major contributing factor. So they know all of these things, and they know how to optimize that, and they have access to the world experts and products and technology and science and modality to be able to do that for you. So to answer your question, I love nurse practitioners.
I do too, to be quite honest. And you said that perfectly. Ralph, I'm sure you have some questions.
I do. A little bit of my background is I was a managing partner in some medical clinics here in the Tampa Bay area. And so I'm in agreement with you. We love our nurse practitioners, right? But equipping them with the knowledge to be able to treat the patients, or, lifting the confidence of the patients, to have trust in those nurse practitioners. And me trying to understand your model, do you actually, and I may have missed this earlier, but do you send the nurse practitioners out to a local clinic to help equip them and educate them on these protocols or modalities? Or is this something that you're doing virtually?
At this point, it's all virtual. So
Okay.
my nurse practitioner is in Illinois, one of them. The other one is in upstate New York. And so I have a handful of them, and they're all around the area. So the point is right now is to use systems that allow us to give people access to care at a very inexpensive level. It's a membership model. So, we ask them to join for a year. Hopefully they'll stay for the rest of their life. And, we're incentivized to keep them around longer because we keep charging. We can keep having to pay us. So, you stay around for another decade of amazing life. And so you pay us a few dollars. I think that's a good deal. So we're incentivized to do that. And infrastructure and creating like offices, maybe eventually, but for now it's all virtual. And so I do webinars, like I'm doing a webinar Monday night. We have Lee Erin Connolly. She's the author of this.
It's blurred because you.
Yeah,
it's a little bit
Whatever.
blurred. That's okay.
So
Lee, that's okay. What can you pronounce her name again?
Lee Erin Connolly, Leigh.
Okay.
Erin Connolly. The Cancer Revolution, she wrote. I'm doing a webinar Monday night with her, and so she's going to be training my physicians, but also we invited people that are in our network of clients. We have a small group of clients at this point. We're taking them on very slowly as we take on the genetics companies and the blood companies and the supplement companies and all these. So we're kind of creating. We're building the cars. We're driving it along the road.
Sure.
Is it a private webinar or is it open for anyone?
It's open. Yeah, anybody who wants to join us.
And do you record it and let others see it after?
I record it, and it depends on who's speaking, but usually we'll put it on our Facebook. We'll stream it on our Facebook page.
That's great.
Not Facebook, I'm sorry, YouTube.
When
And
we get to the end, I want to make sure that you're going to tell our viewers and listeners exactly where they can go find that, because I'm interested myself. So
great.
by the time they see this, you may have already had it. So kind of where they can go and get it. I want to dive into, and hold on, because I need to put my glasses on and read this. I love what you said in an email, and I just want to make sure I say it correctly here. You said, if a cure exists, you'll find it. Expand on that. Why do you say if a cure exists, you'll find it?
There's this whole thing in medicine that they tell you, this false hope. The doctor, once the doctor has no options for them to string you along, they give you false hope. So that whole thing. But if you don't have hope, you don't have anything, really. And when they tell you that there is no cure in that model, they're just saying there's no cure in their particular philosophy, paradigm, and approach. Mm. So when their medication doesn't suppress the symptoms anymore, or their surgeries can no longer help you, then that's it. There is no cure. But, I've interviewed, I've read so many different interesting stories of spontaneous remission. There's a whole book on the topic, on the phenomenon. And, personally, I would rather kind of walk over to the other side, being full of hope that things could get better, than spending the last 5, 10 months, years, whatever it is, being depressed and, waiting for the inevitability of the end to come, the Green Reaper to show up, and just, is that him? Is that, am I going today? No.
Hold on, you said Green Reaper. Is the Reaper, has the Reaper green now? Is he natural?
It's a healthier version.
Okay.
They turn you into trees, what the Green Reaper does to you. But yeah, so if a cure exists, you'll find it. You gotta keep looking, you gotta keep searching, you gotta have an open mind. Miracles happen because you're in the right place at the right time. Like I've seen all these doctors that I've been working with, they create miracles, but it's just a simple correction in your biochemistry or your attitude or your sleep levels or your digestive function, probiotics, some very simple adjustment here and there, and all of a sudden you got a miracle on your hands. It's a remission. You change your attitude. You got out of the environment that you were in that was causing the problem. You stop dealing with the toxic person that was contributing to your stress levels. Something. You got to believe that you can resolve it.
You are exuding encouragement and enthusiasm, and I so appreciate that. There's another something else you had put in the information you sent over to me that caught my attention, and that's Ageless Beauty. I want you to give our listeners and viewers, and even myself, what is your definition of Ageless Beauty?
Well, I've met some people along the way that are the embodiment of it. We just recently interviewed Kim Alexis. I don't know if you know who Kim Alexis is. She was a model, pretty renowned model in the 80s. She was on the cover of every magazine around the world. And she's just one of these people, clearly a very successful woman on every front, a mommy of 3 children. But she's 62. And she just has this inside out beauty about her, and she says she doesn't do any major intervention. It's like in the right attitude, just this innate joy and aging beautifully, ageless beauty, like you age, and you just try to do all the things necessary to slow down the aging process by giving your body all the necessary resources to be able to do that. You try not to be too abusive on yourself. Everybody's got some vices and whatever, but you don't want to get like overboard with that stuff. And like these people, like some of these women that some of them are like 100 years old. Some of the guys, like I interviewed this guy, He was on the cover of our local newspaper, Newsday, in New York. At the time, he was 105. He celebrated his 105th birthday. His name was Gene Scala. So this was about maybe 15 years ago. I reached out to his, it was his niece that was kind of running his PR. And so I reached out and said, listen, I want to put him in my magazine. At the time, we had a magazine together with our conference. And she goes, well, sure. He'll meet you at the bowling alley on Wednesday, because he bowls every Wednesday, you understand. Gene Scala made his own clothes. He bowled every Wednesday. When I met him, sharp as a tack, 105 years old, sharp as a tack.
Wow.
I said, Gene, so I want to get you into the photo studio, and we'll put you in the magazine. He goes, oh, that's nice. I said, I need to talk, like, who would handle that for you? Oh, you got to talk to my niece. I said, well, how do I find her? Here's the phone number, 555-6709, like over the top of his head.
Wow.
105.
Incredible.
And he had the smooth skin. He looked amazing. So all I'm saying is that if one person can do anything biologically, then technically we can all replicate that. There are these blue zones around the world that people accidentally live to be over 100. And it's not only a question of being a centenarian. It's also like they're vivacious. These guys are fathering children at 105. You know, they first they plow the field, then they go home, make some babies. These people are incredible. So there's some kind of a code that I think, or using all the science, technology, nutrition, AI even, we can replicate it on some level. But again, it has to be for people that actually want it. A lot of people are, they're just living in the moment. They don't care about the future, whether it's their finances or their health. They just want to kind of burn through everything today. But I think, if we think a little bit into the future and actually make a plan, and then have somebody that kind of helps us guide us through this whole process using all this information that we currently have and the wealth of information that we're evolving into, I don't think it's very difficult to believe that we can live to be 100 and work right up until the very end. My doctor, my personal doctor, I also have a nurse practitioner, but this doctor that I work with, he is in his 90s. Every time I come see him, is Alex, what's the gossip? What's going on? What's new? Amazing guy. He works a full schedule in his 90s. Looks great. And when I get into his office, usually in the waiting room, there are these ladies who are like in their 80s and 90s, and they're all thin and they all look lovely and they got their hair done and they're living their life. They're living their life. There's another life, is what I'm saying, somewhere between 80 and 100. And we need to mine that resource. That's the next gold rush right there, between 80 and 100. How much life can we get out of that? Huh?
Wow. I can't even,
Agreed.
That's
Agreed.
hard to even grasp in the mind, right? So I love that, though. I love that forward thinking. And you also coined a term. I don't know if you coined the term, but you wrote it to me. It says youthful longevity. And that's what I was thinking of as you're explaining this. Youthful longevity to me is being able to live youthfully at those in those older stages of life. And now, for the first time after this conversation, I've never been so excited to become 80.
Exactly right. I mean, but you're going to be when I'm 80, right? I want to be like a cool 80. I don't want to be 80. I want to wear cool hats. Mm-hmm. I want to wear like cool outfits. I saw this guy, I like certain things in this world. I was taking the train, and this guy was standing on the train stop. He must have been in his 80s, but he was dressed so beautifully. Like, this man went out to be seen. You know what I mean? So when I'm 80, that's how I'm gonna. Even now, like when we went out with some friends to dinner. My friend, I'm wearing a jacket. I'm wearing a collared shirt. I have nice shoes, whatever. I'm going out. I'm 55. I'm not a baby anymore. I can't be dressing like a teenager. This guy shows up in cargo shorts and a t-shirt. He's my age, a little older. So the whole night I said, dude, you're dressing like a child. Why are you dressing like a teenager? We're going out to an elegant restaurant with me.
Step it up.
it up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Alex, I got a question for you. We opened up this episode, thinking about our healthcare system as it is today. Unfortunately, we have been ingrained to think about this reactive care rather than proactive care. And when I think about longevity, when I think about healthy aging, what I'm hearing from you and what I want our audience to clearly understand is that it does take intentionality. It takes proactivity. We have to think about the options that are available to us to be intentional about our health, so that way when we are aging, we can live our best life at any age, whether if it's 80, 85, look forward to the 90s, right? And I just want to ask you, do you have an opinion on proactive care versus reactive care?
Yes.
I had a feeling.
I have an opinion about our healthcare system. I have an opinion about our reactive care system. And, I don't want to get too deep on this, but let's say our healthcare system, the way it is today, leaves something to be desired. Mm. It is $4.3 trillion. It's growing geometrically. It's entirely focused on disease management. So the question is, like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Mm. Do we need $4 trillion worth of intervention from the medical community? Mm. Or is it because the government taxed all this money out of our pockets and threw it into this industry that we inadvertently created this demand for diseases that can be treated? Mm. It's called perverse incentives. Mm. So there's a tremendous amount of perverse incentives in our system of healthcare. And not always are they in our best interest. And in fact, they're usually contrary to our interests. So personally, I have seen through this bureaucratic model virtually immediately. Like, as soon as I needed healthcare and I entered this bureaucracy, right away I saw that this is not for me. And I imagined it was probably not for some other people. So the way I designed my system was, it was for me first. And then I got my wife to do it. I got my son to do it. And recently my 24-year-old daughter called me up. She goes, "Dad, I want to do your program." So we signed her up. But then we have our clients. We have, a network of expanding my friends. I got a bunch of my friends to do it. So, when intelligent people hear an intelligent idea, they resonate with it. But, if you are, we saw what happened over the last 3 years. Benjamin Rush, he was one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence. And he was a medical doctor. And he said that unless we put medical freedom into the Constitution, the time will come when medicine will organize itself into an undercover bureaucracy and really deliver more tyranny than the health, like that. Yes. And we've seen that over the last 3 years, because some of us that have been in this healthcare industry for a while, especially on this side of it, we saw this very clearly. But unfortunately, people that didn't give it a lot of thought, they were swept in to the misinformation, to the questionable science, to the tactics, to the well, let's leave it at that. But yeah, so I personally don't trust this system. I don't believe it has our best interests at heart, and I think we can do so much better and so much less expensive.
I'm in agreement with that, and that's, for me personally, I believe in our podcast here, Aging Gracefully, and even our brand that we recently are moving forward with education and awareness. And I think that this lifestyle modification is so important in today's culture, and educating our audience with human optimization. What exactly does that mean? Is it hormone therapy? Is it testosterone therapy? Is it stem cell therapy? And these are the types of talking points that we want to have more of. These are the talking points that we want to share with our audience, and have guests like you, experts, folks that have been in this industry for a long time, have an opinion of it, but also have the thought leadership behind it that have a voice that people need to hear. So I appreciate you and in your opinions, because they're valuable to us and to our audience.
I appreciate that.
Alex, you mentioned that your wife is on your program and now your 24-year-old daughter is on your program. What exactly is your program?
Well, so I assign a nurse practitioner to a client. First, they do like initial, they fill out a 12-question assessment form so we get a little bit of an idea what's happening. And then my nurse practitioner does the initial consultation. We, once we decide we're going to take this client on, with my wife, daughter, and son, I was forced to do it, so I have to. But with everybody else, we want to work with people that, we don't want to drag people and force them and get them to show up. Like, we want somebody who's a little bit interested in living longer and healthier life and circumventing all these chronic illnesses. So then the nurse practitioner orders blood work. We send the phlebotomist to the house. The sample goes to our lab. They put it through this company called Integrative Genetic Solutions, which basically takes all available information on what it takes the human body to function optimally and correlates it with a person's blood work. It creates a thorough report, hundreds of recommendations. That goes to the nurse practitioner, who then consults with whoever of our functional medicine doctors is best, qualified for that particular individual situation. And then they get together with the client, they explain the results, and then they create an optimization plan just based on the blood work. And now we're bringing in the actual genetics component, where we have a genetics company that we do the genetics of the client, and then they have their top scientists get together with us and kind of decipher the genetics for this person. And the goal of that is not really to try to predict what this person is going to die from, or what they're predisposed to having. All of us are going to die from cancer and heart disease. That's just the way it is in this world. So we don't need genetics to tell us that. What I want to know is, like, for me, for example, I have this gene called MTHFR, which undermines my ability to detoxify heavy metals. So last few times I checked my heavy metals, they're always off the chart. So unless I'm proactively doing stuff to remove this toxicity from my body, eventually when it bioaccumulates in the tissue, it starts causing neurological damage. And then I had mercury filling, so my mercury was like literally off the page. And so I was doing chelation therapies and a whole bunch of other things. And then there's a gene that predisposes you to having low vitamin D levels. So if we know things like that, if you're genetically predisposed to have, or like homocysteine, which is a precursor to heart disease. So they're very simple proactive fixes. Like, you don't need to know anything. Like, if we know your homocysteine is off, we know your vitamin D is low, we know that you're toxic with heavy metals, we're going to create the infrastructure so that you have the right supplements, and then we're going to test, make sure the supplements are working, make sure your body's absorbing. Maybe we need a different supplement, but we need to do an injection. Like, we don't know. But these basic fundamental things can help you avoid a lot of unnecessary heartbreak as you move into those later years. Not you, I'm just saying people move into those later years. And it's just so mind-bogglingly stupid to me that you want to throw caution to the wind and, like, well, whatever God gives me, that's what I'm going to be. That's what I'm going to do. I have friends like this. When I first talk to them about this, whatever God gives me. But we don't think like that about our finances. For example, how much do you need to retire? Whatever God gives me. No, you work every day. You plan. You have a financial planner. You count your money all the time. You plan, like, do we have enough? 401k, like, you're proactively actually working and thinking on exactly how much money you're going to need to retire. But then you retire. You have all this time. You have all this money, but you got no life energy left. And you're spending your time drooling in the soup and under somebody's supervision.
We see it happen so often. It's unfortunate.
I'm so honored that we've had this discussion today, Alex, and I want you to share with our listeners and viewers how they can connect with you, how they can find this awesome information, and don't forget the website, the webcast,
webinar,
but website as well.
Well, if you go to our website. It's called ShowTalk, SCHOTALK.com. That's where we have our webinars listed. And usually we'll pop up. We do a dinner. We're planning one in the Hamptons in the summer. We do one every other month where I have my doctors present. And then we do, and then we have our program. Also, you find everything there. I mean, usually we have links and stuff there, but I have a couple of different websites.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank our viewers and listeners for tuning in and encourage you to subscribe to the Aging Gracefully podcast and join us in exploring the latest developments in healthy aging, anti-aging, and innovative treatment options. Stay young, stay healthy, and stay tuned. Till next time.